Hey guys, Ryan and I am here at K1 Circuit. And that's right, you're hearing karts go out there on the track right now. And the drivers are something special. That's because they share a common name, and they share a name with one of the sections of our track here. I am talking about Rocky Moran. That's the guy right there, designed this course. It's why we named the corner Rocky Moran. They are here out here today, and not just these two, but Rocky Moran Sr., the man who started it all for this family, is here as well. Very special day. We're going to talk to Rocky all about the design of the track, how it worked out, what his thought process was, what he maybe learned from his previous track out in Beaumont, and then we're going to talk to the rest of the family as well, get a gauge on how it is to be here at K1 Circuit. You're going to want to tune in for this one. I am here with the Rocky Moran Jr., the designer of this wonderful state-of-the-art K1 Circuit go-kart track. Now, of course, there's an origin to every story. What got Rocky Moran to suddenly be amongst this K1 universe here?
Sure, yeah. I actually started my relationship with the owner of K1 Speed 20 years ago now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So my dad and I had a racetrack, Moran Raceway. A lot of the people in the racing community know about that track. It was open from 03 to 08, and I got a phone call in about 2004 from a French gentleman who I didn't really know yet, and he invited me down to his indoor center, said, hey, I have the first indoor electric kart track. This is in Carlsbad, and love to meet you and love to do some cross advertising. So we actually met, and I remember walking into his racing factory, his racetrack, and I looked up on the wall and there was a banner of the starting grid of a big, huge race at Moran Raceway. And I'm like, hey, that's my racetrack, and it said champion start here. And so I've always teased him about that. I'm like, man, you always were advertising the outdoor stuff. You gotta join the club and build an outdoor track. We hit it off, and at some point I got out. We closed Moran Raceway. I got into the business world. I started doing commercial real estate.
Okay.
I was doing a little bit of track design on the side. We were able to reconnect in about 2012 with the mission and the assignment to actually do a state-of-the-art racetrack like we're standing in today.
Yeah.
And he hired me to broker the land and to find the property and to develop the track and to design the track and help put together the construction crews. So it was really fun for me because I didn't have to take any of the financial risk.
Yeah, right.
I had somebody that could essentially bankroll the entire project and gave me free reign to design a very cool racetrack.
That's cool. So gosh, and there you go. You have it right there. 12 years pretty much in the making here from start to finish.
Yes.
Now, when you're handed a lot of land like this, back in the day, you're just looking at a bunch of dirt out here.
Yeah.
What is the thought process for you as far as like how you're actually going to design the place?
Well, what's funny is this is a 50-acre property. However, a big portion of it is this mountain that's behind us, which is actually beautiful. It's scenic. It blocks the wind. It's great for spectating. So we had he basically told me, hey, Rocky, I want a track that is over a mile long. Okay. And I want a certain amount of corners, but just have fun with it. So we probably went through 40 or 50 different designs before we came up with this. Wow. The track has over 30 feet of elevation, which is incredible. Yeah. It was paved basically using F1 paving methods, polymer asphalt, really high-grade paving techniques to make sure there's no bumps. And I can say it's actually the smoothest track I've ever driven. Wow. So really enjoyable to drive. We went through all of the CIK process to make sure that the curbing and the safety and the runoff and the fencing, all of the little details were perfect. And it turned out just spectacular. Yeah. I can't stop. When I'm out there, I just want to stay on the racetrack.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And now let's take a quick step back here. You had mentioned Moran Raceway, right? Mm-hmm. And again, many karters out here in Southern California are going to be very familiar with that place. I think that also is the host of the 2005 Grand Nationals. Yep. That was the one that actually Alexander Rossi had won back in the day. I know he's spoken fondly about that when I've interviewed him about his karting days. Yeah. As good as that track was, first of all, is there anything that you've taken from that track and have implemented here? Also, is there anything maybe with that track after you had constructed and designed it and been like, kind of wish this was different, that maybe you're able to apply towards K1 circuit?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I designed Moran Raceway, we did a similar process. It was like 50 different designs.
Yeah.
We went and rented the Streets of Willow and set up different configurations to just make sure the corner speeds were going to actually line up with what we thought they would be.
Yeah.
And I went out and interviewed all of my good racing buddies, guys that had traveled all over the world, took everything I knew from my racing experience in big cars at big tracks, going to places like Road America and top IndyCar tracks and some of the European tracks I visited, and basically put it into that circuit. And people loved it. It was a really good track, particularly for tags and shifters. It was a very fast, flowy track. It had a good combination of low speed, medium speed, high speed corners. If I was to critique it, it lacked a couple passing zones. It needed a little bit more flow, longer straightaways, straightaways that were more actually straight. It had some bends and some straightaways. So with this, we were able to lay out a track that's got a few less corners. It's actually a longer track, a similar lap time, definitely smoother because we got a budget here. So this track was done right. So everything about it is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So I would say from just a fun standpoint, I would give the nod to this track. They're both very similar in terms of width, in terms of the concept. We're basically trying to build a track that feels like a Formula One track or feels like an IndyCar track, not a kart track. And that's basically what this is. Anybody that comes off of this track, you feel like you just got off of a Road America or a Mossport or a Road Atlanta. You feel like you're getting off of a permanent high-speed road course. That's the vibe that we were going for.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. And I know you just did a run out there, number one, the very first run that you've ever done, the OTLE Pro Kart, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
But then a good flying lap right here, fresh, in a couple different kinds of karts. From the driver's perspective, what can people look forward to enjoying here in person?
You know, it just has a good combination of so many corners. It doesn't beat you up. You feel like you want to stay out on the racetrack and just keep doing laps. Yeah. The e-kart was way faster than I thought it was going to be. It knocked my socks off. Yeah. The thing has more acceleration than the gas-powered karts. It's got four-wheel brakes, so it stops like a shifter kart. It was actually really impressive. It also has a harder compounded tire, so you got to slow down more in the corners. Right. So it was a different feeling than a traditional race kart that we're used to with a gas-powered motor and stickier tires, but really fun. I think people are going to love it, and I think the concept of being able to ratchet up different power settings as you move through the different stages here is going to be like a little graduation system for people that want to go to the next level. It dangles a carrot, I guess, is what it does. Good. I think anybody that gets off of this track, whether you're in a junior kart, whether you're in a shifter kart, an electric kart, I think you're going to be blown away by the speed. Some of these corners, like the bank corner here, they're calling the Moran Corner, which is awesome. It actually turned out to be probably the most fun corner on the track. You feel like you're loaded up, pulling G's in like an oval style corner when you go through there, and things are happening really, really quickly. The S's here are fantastic. What we took from Moran Raceway, we had one corner at Moran Raceway called the Carousel. It was the biggest corner on the track. This track actually has 3 of those corners connected together. So that was an inspiration from Moran Raceway. We had the room here to actually do it. So the S's here are gigantic. I mean, they got crazy flow, crazy speed, and they're a lot more technical than they look. Turn 1's really fun because it's a downhill straightaway. It's over 900 feet. So the shifters will be going over 90 miles per hour. I'm sure the e-karts will be going over 80 miles per hour. And so turn 1 is going to be really fun. You're going to have a lot of passing at this track. I think there's probably 5 or 6 passing zones at this track. Most other tracks have maybe 1 or 2. There's 5 or 6 legit passing zones here. So it's going to race like no other track.
Sounds like you did a job well done then.
It's fun. It's fun. Yeah. I was telling the guys, I'm like, I feel bad bragging about it because nobody's going to listen to me, right? But I can say if I was transported into this place and I knew nothing about it and I drove it, I would be elated. It's just so much fun to drive.
And let's talk about your corner team. What does that mean to you to have your name now immortalized here at K1 Circuit?
Well, David is such a nice guy. He's such a good friend. That's so kind of him to do that. There's going to be, I'm sure funny things that come about. There's going to be wrecks and I'm going to hear people swearing and my name's going to be in the middle of all these funny lines. Right. So I've seen it work well and not so well. But overall, I'll take it. It is an honor. Totally an honor.
Very good. And let's talk about this day itself. Now, you're here with your dad. You're here with your son. It's got to be a pretty special moment for you here.
It's so cool. Yeah. So cool. Rocky Jr. and I actually got to come to the track about 2 years ago when the track was brand new. There was actually no curbs, no barriers, no fencing, no lights. It was just asphalt. It hadn't even been striped yet. And David was kind enough to let us out here and we got to do some lapping and Obviously, there's been some setbacks with the track opening, and
sure.
It's actually just built anticipation, and all of the wait will be well worth it when you see what has gone into making this place what it is. It's not just the track, it's the facility, it's the garages, it's the pits, it's the lights, it's everything else. But to be out here with senior and junior, and for my dad to be able to finally see us drive it in its finished state, it just means the world to us.
Yeah, well, good.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure here to have the man himself, Rocky Moran Jr. here, doing some laps around our track and talking with us today.
Thank you,
Rocky.
I appreciate it.
All right, now I am here with the very first generation Rocky Moran. Now this is the myth, the legend. This guy has quite a storied motorsport career. Now he's driven for the likes of Dan Gurney. He's driven for the likes of AJ Foyt. He's driven in several Indy 500s. He raced in IndyCar, in fact, throughout the 80s. And I think probably the cherry on top there for you was in 1993, this guy was the overall winner at the 24 Hours of Daytona. Not only the winner, but in probably one of the coolest cars that was ever created too. It was the old IMSA GTB cars from back in the day, and this is the Toyota Eagle Mark III we're talking about. It's a beauty. That thing was so fast. I think the pole for your race ended up standing for 26 years before that record was broken at Daytona. That's the kind of car this guy drove to victory. So first of all, I would be amiss to not actually ask you about that race. You earlier today signed the suit that we have that you actually drove that race in, and it is going to be on display here in our main building once that's constructed. Tell me the memories that kind of came back to you, probably seeing that suit and just your memories in general from that event.
I have to mention I had two great co-drivers and friends, PJ Jones and Rourke Disnor. Rourke Disnor, a legend in karting as a driver and now as a shop and engine builder and so on and so forth. That car was magic. The people at All American Racers that poured their lives into that car. For over a year it was engineering and fabrication, and finally took it to Las Vegas to shake it down on the old road course out there, and it felt so good I couldn't believe it. It had immense grip, it was balanced, it didn't scare you. I mean, it just hauled ass is what it did. From there the team developed every aspect of that thing to the point where we got there in '93. That was one of the most badass race cars on the planet.
Yeah.
Literally just drove it hard the whole way. And that's the most fun way to drive one of those endurance races.
Yeah.
Because they're a lot of work.
Yeah, that's for sure. Man, that's incredible. Yeah, it's such a cool, and again, and that's for Dan Gurney too. There's a great picture of you standing right next to the man himself afterwards in winner's circle. It had to have been, I mean, just quite the experience.
Yeah, well, I grew up hanging on the fence at Riverside in the 60s as a teenager.
Man.
And watching Dan drive.
Yeah.
And he was special.
Yeah.
Incredibly special.
Yeah.
One of the most gifted guys to ever sit in a race car.
Yeah.
And so that it worked out that, you know, I got to know him and talk to him and be his friend and drive for him and learn from him was incredible.
Yeah, for sure. And like Dan, you're a pretty tall racer yourself. How tall were you, Rocky?
Well, about 6 foot now, but I used to be a little taller.
Yeah, right.
I've had a health issue that shortened me.
Okay, yeah, well, there he goes. But a tall racer, nevertheless, and I've actually had the privilege of sitting in that Eagle Mark III.
Yeah.
That is cramped seating in there. Was it difficult for you with the helmet and everything else?
You know, I felt good in that car.
Okay, good.
I felt really good in that car.
That's good. Now let's talk about here right now. You're here with your son, your grandson, at K1 Circuit. What does it mean for you right now with just having your name associated with this track out here?
Oh, it's an honor. I'm glad it'll hang for a long period of time. Mostly my grandson's going to get teased a lot about it. But it's a cool corner. It's the coolest corner in the track. It's, you know, a combination of direction change and elevation change. And it turned out really, really well. So.
Yeah, I agree. And today to be able to actually see your son and your grandson out there turning some laps out there in the karts, what does that mean for you today?
I've only seen that once before.
Really? Wow.
It's only the second time, I think, that the two of them have been on the track together. It's going to be fun riding home because they really go at each other.
That's going to be the real entertainment here then.
Yeah.
And I've noticed here too, throughout the day, you're not just a casual observer, are you? I saw you out there tinkering with it a little bit. I've seen you kind of correct a couple of things. You're still very much involved, aren't you?
Yeah, I love tinkering with the carts. I keep them at our house, and I love to play with them. And they need it. I mean, these things need a lot of attention. So.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, there you go. It's been an absolute honor to be able to sit here and talk with you today, Mr. Moran. Thank you for being here. Thank you for talking with us. And again, what a pleasure. The man himself right here, Rocky Moran Sr., the very first, the Mark I, right?
Yep. There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, and now I am here with the third generation of Rocky Moran. The one that is now carrying that Moran name, going and racing. What does that mean for you?
It's a huge legacy that we've had, like the Moran Raceway and just all the racing we've done, go-karting and car racing. It's a little bit of pressure, but it's also like a ton of fun because like this sport is just awesome. I love racing. This track is awesome. This is like the best time I could possibly hold a legacy that I just get to keep driving this track here. So I think that's awesome.
For sure.
It means a lot to me.
Yeah, now how old are you?
I'm 14.
14, okay. And how long have you been racing for?
I've been racing for probably 7 years now.
Oh wow, since age 7. That's pretty young.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, was that something where you had the natural desire, or was it more your dad saying, all right, get in there and show me what you got?
I knew my dad was a racer growing up as a kid, and I thought that was awesome. Like,
yeah.
always thought cars were cool, and then when he got me a go-kart on Christmas, I was just like blown away. So I got into kid karting.
That's cool. So what are you doing right now as far as karting? Are you doing any sort of pro karting events out here?
We did North Carolina recently. We've done out at GoPro, which is I think the furthest I've ever been for a race.
Wow.
And that was awesome. So we've done some pretty big races.
This wasn't your first time driving the track, but first time as far as this evolution of it now that we've done a lot more to it, and you got a chance to drive the OTL e-Pro Kart as well. So tell us about your racing experience out there today.
So just going out on the gas cart was just crazy. I was mind blown because like I remember last time, love all the turns out here, all the elevation and how smooth the track is blows me away.
Yeah.
So it blows all other tracks away. It just feels like I'm driving on clouds out there.
How does that mean for you as a kid, especially growing up, you're like, I've got my name out there at this track.
It's my name, but I'm not sure I've really earned it yet. So I'm just gonna go out there and drive it good and try to make myself earn it.
Today is obviously a special day, right? Here with your grandfather, here with your dad.
Yeah.
Third generation kind of thing going.
Yeah.
Just to sum up what this day's been like for you so far.
This on the calendar in the past month has just been like the most exciting thing of all time. I got to go race my dad and destroy him, and it's just awesome because I've been waited for so long to come out here and drive it again, and I got to race with my dad, and my grandpa got to come and watch us.
Exactly.
Super special moment.
You drove the gas cart earlier, and then you jumped almost immediately right into the electric cart. So tell me what that experience was like for you.
Obviously very used to the gas cart, but when I got in that electric car, I was blown away. I didn't actually have too high of expectations, but when I got in that, it impressed me. Like that thing was like more fun to drive than my gas cart is.
Yeah, really?
Because
wow.
It accelerates so fast. It's going so fast down the straightaway, and then the brakes. I have never done four-wheel brakes before. I haven't driven a shifter, so that was sick too. And it just like it felt like I was racing a like actual car.
Yeah,
and it was sick.
Wow, crazy. So there you go. See, even if you're used to driving a gas cart around there, our electric cart has plenty of thrills there for you out here, especially at K1 Circuit. Thank you again, Rocky. Really appreciate the time you had with us.
Appreciate you too.
And best of luck in your career as well. We'll be keeping our eye out for you out there.